when you walk by, I hit you with sexy eyes. You look through me as if I wasn't right. Oh no, you didn't just walk on through. It's time.
Welcome to the Dragon's Lair workshop and the start of my third project for the season, which is going to be a light box. So you guys get an idea of what I'm doing. I've got in the entranceway to my haunt, I have 4 light boxes that I've made in years past using the scene setter pictures that you can get. I don't know if they're still available, probably not, they're pretty old. But originally, like the pictures that I have for last season, I used to just tape them to the wall. I didn't like it that way, for the same reasons that I had with the picture frames. So I went and made some simple light boxes and mounted them on that. That way when they're hung, they light up. Let me show you what I've got going for this year, a new one I'm doing. And it's fairly large, so I don't know if you'll get the whole thing. But this was one that was out this season that I found. It was Disney's Haunted Mansions and Endless Hallway. It was to go with that Disney scene setter that they came out. That's what you see running down the walls. We had it hanging in our gypsy display. Excuse me. And it was kind of hidden. I mean, it was in the back of the display. You know, we had lights on. The lights were glaring off of it and everything. It's roughly from the top of the picture down to this point here. It's about 5 foot. Add another foot on if you add the stairs that go with it. What I'm going to do is, like the pictures in my entranceway that I've got in the light boxes, I'm going to make up a giant light box for this. And all I'm going to use, I am not adding the stairs to it. The stairs are a separate piece to it. And I'm going to set that off to the side. I have another possible use for that. So I'm just going to use the top half. And the frame is going to be roughly 5 feet 1.5 inches long by 3 feet 10 inches wide. The frame for the light box itself is made out of 2x2s. It's a square stock, and it's just real simple. I just come to length and width, screw them together. Then I have a sheet of pegboard out here on the back porch, or the patio, however you want to call it. I know I just kind of went dark. Or white right here, pegboard. And it's white on the other side. This will be the back of the panel, the white side will be inside to help reflect light. But you attach that to the 2x2 frame. Then you, on the back side, on the front side, you staple that scene setter in there to it. And then over the top of that, you attach a piece of plexiglass. Plexiglass does 2 functions. The first year I did my other light boxes, I did not use plexiglass on it, and I ran into 2 problems. One, when I went to hang them up, I went and set one down on the ground. You know, just put the bottom down and just let it fall over and land on the ground. The air coming through the pegboard acted like a balloon and actually popped the scene setter and split it right down the center. Putting the plexiglass on it prevents it from doing that. I learned. Also that year we had someone who came through the haunt and went to tap on the scene setter on the light box and put their hand through it. So the plexiglass bars it from doing that. You know, that will go on there, and then to dress it up, you know, after all that's assembled, I bought some trim pieces, decorative trim pieces that all frame around the outside edge. As to the lights I use in my light boxes, there's multiple ways you can do it. You can use LEDs, you can use rope lights, you can use RGB lights, you know, and just rim the inside of the box with them. What I'm going to be using this shed is those Halloween Christmas. Well, they're Christmas tree lights, but they're orange or purple. You know, the Halloween lights. But you know, they look like the little lights you put on your Christmas tree. My other two of the other 4 light boxes have the orange color in them. This one's going to get purple, just to be a little different. So that's my next project. It doesn't really take all that long to make these light boxes. You know, once you've done your first one, you get kind of the knack of it, and you can do it in a couple of days. 3 to 4 days at the most. The only reason why I'm saying 3 to 4 days at the most is because once you get the 2x2s over there assembled and the pegboard attached to the back of it, and before you mount the lights or the scene setter, it's best to paint the frame and stuff. And I usually paint them black, and then whatever with the trim pieces I put on. And things being what they are, it takes time for stuff to dry. So with dry time and everything, it's not too bad. But you know, I figure a couple of days, you know, to get this whipped out. This is another quick, easy prop, kind of like what the frames were. I mean, it took a week to do those, and the only reason why it took that long is I had 17 of them I did, and they had to be painted and you know what have you, so there was drying time involved. But anyway, this giant light box I'm doing is the next project, and I'll probably, I don't know if I'll put the whole process into one vlog. Don't want it too long, don't want God's flesh yelling at me again. So I might do break it up over several vlogs. So anyway, here we go, people. Third project for the 2013 season is now officially started. Okay, still the first day I'm working on the light box. The scene setter itself that goes in this, I ended up having to take it apart, do a little bit of cleanup. Things weren't lining up. That took a little bit of time. But I'm getting ready to call it quits for the night. I pushed it a little bit. It's almost 10 p.m. here. But as you can see, I got the frame assembled, rough assembled, and coated in black, which is the way it's supposed to be. I got my trim pieces, which will decorate the outside of it, stained. Those will be dry in the morning, so I won't have any downtime really tomorrow. Anyway, that's where we are for day one. Like I said, these will be drying overnight, and then tomorrow I'll come in and might get final assembly done tomorrow. Like I said, these light boxes don't take long. But anyway, that's where we're at tonight. So we will catch you tomorrow, people. Okay, good afternoon all. It's the next day. I think I'll give you a little recap of what I did last night. We got all the pieces for the frame assembled and cut out and assembled, and I also got all the trim pieces cut out. I also went over and painted the sides and the front of the frame in black. I want that to blend into the walls a bit. And we also got all the trim stained. It's kind of like a mahogany red water stain that I put on. I wanted the wood grain on the trim to show up, so I didn't want to cover it up with paint. Our next step, you see, white pegboard, and this will actually fit to the back, or attach to the back of the frame. And the white will be on the inside, aiming out to act as a more of a reflective type surface for the lights that will be going in. My step now on this is I've got to get it cut to fit that frame, which is what I'm getting ready to do now. So sit back, here we go. It's time to make some noise, people. Okay, we got the pegboard cut out. You're seeing the back side of it. It fits really good. We attached the pegboard with screws spaced around the outside all the way together. You know, all the way around, sorry. So, nice thing is once you get the pegboard attached, it really stiffens up, and sorry, weird camera angles here, really stiffens up the frame. Now I've got some sawdust from the table on here, and there's a few nicks and scratches on the face. I'm not going to be worried about because this outside trim edge of the frame is going to be covered. They won't be seen. I basically put the paint on there to help kind of seal the wood a bit. The way I install these, I have a couple of eye hooks I put in up here with some chains attached to, and this basically hangs off the side of the tents or off the side of my partition walls, one of the two. And I'm thinking with all the weight right now, the frame is held together itself with one 3-inch screw going through here. You know, I'm afraid the weight might pull this apart, but once you get the pegboard on the back, and you know there's screws about every 8 inches or so all the way around, you know, so the frame's anchored to the pegboard. The plexiglass will go on here, will be mounted the same way. About every 8 inches there'll be a screw. You know, with the two, I'm thinking that might be enough, you know, to help hold this frame together. You know, so I shouldn't have any problem with hanging it. But for right now, our next step on this, now that the pegboard's attached, is I've got to get my get the eye bolts out I want to use and get them attached. I got to drill a hole through the 2x2 to stick them in, you know, and get those mounted on here. So that's my next step. Once I get that done, I can come through with my lights. And these are the lights here, and I'm using purple, but as you can see, they're just a string of lights, and those will get mounted inside on this lip in here. Wonky camera angles, I'm sorry, you know, and I'll just rim the box all the way around with it. I'll have to also drill a hole in a corner here to stick the power cord through, so I'll be able to plug it in. But that's the next two steps: getting the eye bolts in and then getting those lights mounted. Okay, people, we've got a little bit further. I've gotten a couple of steps done. First off, you'll notice I got the lights installed all the way around on the frame. And on the lighting, I do want to mention a couple of things. One, the strand of lights I am using was longer than what I needed. Okay. Now, when I was running them, I started here, worked my way around, and when I got back to here, I could have continued on running that string of lights down and around until I ran out. Problem with that is when you get the scene setter and the plexiglass in and turn it on at night, you'd have a heavier concentration of light on one side than you would anywhere else, and it would look odd. Okay, so what I did is when I made my circuit back and forth, I just went back and forth up here and put my heaviest lights up on the top. It looks a little bit better doing that than having it, you know, having it down the side. Okay, now with these style of lights, this is what I normally use on it. As I mentioned in an earlier vlog, if I was someone like Scuba Spook 1 or Hall Staff, they wouldn't use these type of lights. They would either use the RGB style of lights and just tack those in around the edge. The RGB lights would allow them to control what color they had coming out of the light box. You know, with this one, I'm stuck with whatever color bulb I have in there, which is purple. And I do have two, I don't know if it's showing up, orange lights, one there and one there, only because I ran out of replacement bulbs. But you know, the RGBs would run cooler. They would also use less electricity. So would the LEDs. And some of you have been following me for a while know I made up all those LED lights for my hunt last year. I could go that way if I wanted to. I stuck with these though, this style of light, because this is what I have in the rest of my light boxes. So I went this way. Anyway, lights are in, and when I mounted the lights in here, it's basically just stapled in. I don't know if you can see it, get real closer. There's just a staple there over the wire. You need to be real careful doing this method of mounting them, with the staples. You don't want the staples to go through the wire, because it can short out your lights. Also, another thing, you need to be careful on how the lights are aimed. I got the majority of the lights right now aimed so they're pointing down and touching the back wall. You don't want them pointing up to where they're going to be hitting the scene setter, because even these, they don't get all that hot, and it's going to be outside at nighttime anyway, and up here it's in the 40s anyway, so whatever heat these put out, the cooler air will keep the inside of the box cool. But there's a risk if they're pointing up high enough to where they'll touch the back of the scene setter, they'll melt a hole in the scene setter, and you don't want that. So you want to try to kind of keep them pointed down, and there's a couple in here I'm a little concerned about, and I can mess with those and get those fixed. Now, another step I also did with this prior to putting the lights in is I cut a hole in here, and that's basically for the plug, so you can get power to this. At the end of the season, when I go to put this to storage, all I have to do is just from the back, push the cord up inside the box, let the cord hang inside the box, and that way it doesn't get ripped off. Now, another step I got completed as well were these eye bolts I put in. This is how we're going to hang it. And one thing I did a little differently this year was on the chain. That's what I use to attach it. I hang these off the frame of the tents I use. Okay, on my other light boxes, I didn't use this clip. I just mounted the chain permanently to the eye hook. And there's been some downsides to that. The chains tend to dangle and drag and hook on things, when I'm putting them away. And they can slap against the plexiglass and break the plexiglass, which is something I don't want to do. So I had some extra, spring clipped, belt hooks, what have you. And I mounted the chains to that. And what I can do now this year, and another reason for doing this, is with the ones that are permanently attached, it makes it harder for mounting the light boxes. These things are not light. They weigh a ton, so you're trying to hold up the thing and then wrap the chain and, get the chain hooked, where you want it, and then, it's just a bigger pain in the ass. So, this way I can mount the chain to where I want it and just lift up the light box and clip that onto the light hook, and that takes care of the problem. But anyway, that's where we're at now. I got the eye hooks in, we got the lights in, I got the access hole cut into the back of the panel. Our next step on this, you would think, would be mounting the scene setter. And no, that's not the next step. The next step is to get the plexiglass in here and get it not only cut to fit the frame. The piece of plexiglass I got is 4 foot wide by 6 foot long, and the box is 3'10" wide by 5 feet roughly. It's 5 feet 1.5 inches tall. So I need to get the plexiglass in here and get it cut down to size. I also need to pre-drill the hole, mounting holes for the plexiglass too. Okay, we got the plexiglass cut out. It's laying on the frame. I know you really can't see it. It's clear. There you go. Now you can see it. Anyway, we got the plexiglass cut to fit on for the frame. And I've also gone through and pre-drilled all my screw holes all the way around. Okay, so it's ready for attaching. Now, when cutting or attaching the plexiglass, you need to be real careful. Plexiglass is extremely brittle. It does not take much to crack it, shatter it, break it, whatever you want to call it. So like when you're pre-drilling, put your drill down where you want it to go, apply very light pressure, and then hit your bit and let the bit do the work. If you press down hard on the drill bit, you'll crack it. Like right there, it's cracked. Got a little too overzealous. Actually, that wasn't from pre-drilling the hole. That was from attaching the screw. Screws are the, when you're attaching your plexiglass, you have to do the same thing. You want to, as you do when you pre-drill the holes, you want to snug the screws down. You don't want to crank down on them. You crank down on them, you get little cracks like that. And I got another one right here. I got two of them. And the plexiglass is actually cracked there. So you need to be real careful with that. My next step is I've got to get the film. Plexiglass, when you get it, has a clear film on both sides to help protect it, you know, from scratches and stuff. I got to get the film off. Then it's attaching the scene setter. And then I put the plexiglass back on, attach it down, and that section is finished. Okay, we're almost done. Got the coating off the plexiglass, and we got the scene setter installed. Now to install the scene setter, all I did was basically lay it out and then went around every so often and put staples in, holding it in place, stretching it flat, try to get as many of the wrinkles out as I could. Then I went, cleaned off the plexiglass both sides. You don't want any debris trapped on the back side of this because it will show up against the pattern. Then you lay the plexiglass down and you snug it down. Now I've got two more jobs to do here to finish this all the way. One, you are going to have, or I have, or you are, depending if you're planning on trying to do this yourself, you will have some extra material off that scene setter. And that's really easy to take care of. Just take a razor blade, run it around the edge of the box, it trims it off. That's done. The next step is getting this trim onto that, which goes on top of the plexiglass, and which I'm going to be doing here in just a sec. When doing trim, any sort of trim like this, unless you're using some sort of brad nailer or power nailer or something, I'm going to be using wood screws, which means I'm going to have to go through, pre-drill this, lay it up into, lay it on the box in place, mark where the holes are on the plexiglass, come back through and pre-drill the plexiglass. If I don't, I'm going to crack the plexiglass. Pre-drill, pre-drill, pre-drill. It's a pain in the ass, but if you want it to look nice, you got to do it. Okay, here we go, the finished product with the lights on. Sorry, I can't get far enough back in here. I don't have enough room in the shop. So we'll have to kind of go like this, or turn you on your side here. There we go. There's what she looks like with the lights on. And there's what she looks like with the lights on. Oh God. Yes, I'm going to turn this off. Let that die down. The border where the lights are is showing up pretty good. The lights in the middle of it, there are no lights, so it's a little bit darker. I think when I get in the haunt, I might actually aim a light down toward the center of the picture so it shows up more. And right now, too, in my shop, I got all the lights off, so that's the only thing on. In my haunt, on the other hand, there'll be a lot of ambient light and stuff, so that picture should show up a lot better, I'm hoping. I know. Here, I'm going to turn on the overhead here again. There we go, lights on again. Now I know my wife had the suggestion of maybe taking some lights, instead of going around the border, start, and I did have some extra lights. I might have been, I might have had enough to do it. Instead of putting lights across the bottom here, like I did, put a string of lights diagonal and follow the tiling on the picture up against the wall, going down to the end. And that would have highlighted the center of it, I think. Yeah, I don't know. But like I said, in here with all the lights off, that picture's really dark. But I think when I get it into my haunt, there's going to be other light boxes on around it. And, you know, there's a lot more light available in the haunt, in the section that this goes in. So, you know, the picture should show up fairly well. But, you know, maybe down the line, you know, if I get bored and don't have any particular project to work on, I might drag this one out and my other light boxes out and convert them over to LEDs, you know, and do a little bit, some more fancier type things with it. But, you know, for right now, I think this is perfect. This works out just the way I want it to work out, so. But anyway, there you go. A project a day will keep the witch doctor away. It's been about 24 hours since I started this. I started this about the same time, this time last night, so. It is another prop for the 2013 season. Believe this is my third one. So, quick, easy prop. Now I've got 3 more props I'm going to be working on here. I'm not going to get any time off. I'll be starting another one here tomorrow. Actually, I'll be starting 2 more tomorrow in a sense. You notice over there in that corner all that scrap foam. I'm going to be making me up a whole bunch of miniature pillars out of 4x4s. Actually, it's going to be 2 2x4s, you know, attached to each other, 4 foot tall. Now, I'm going to skin it with that foam and carve it. And there'll be some miniature pillars I'll use around my haunt, you know, for some of the picket fencing and stuff I've got. I gotta go down and buy lumber for that tomorrow. And then a friend of mine's gonna let me borrow his table saw this coming weekend, and we're gonna get that all cut, all the scraps over there cut down to size and stuff. And so probably this weekend I'll start, you know, gluing that on to the 4x4 or 2x4s. The other one, Barry, Drop Dead, sent me a bunch of speakers. I bought them off of him, and they're buried somewhere in that pile. I gotta dig them out. I'm gonna make some speaker cases for them. You know, I'm not exactly sure if I'm just gonna make boxes and paint them black, monster mud them, cover them with foam and carve them. I don't know. I haven't decided yet on that part, but I gotta get plywood to actually make the boxes that the speakers go into, and that's another project I'll be doing tomorrow. Yeah, getting started tomorrow. I gotta get the supplies. So I got those 2 projects to work on for this week, and then once those 2 projects are done, I've got some new fake wrought iron fencing I'm going to be working on. That's my 3rd project. So anyway, I'm going to cut this short. I've rambled enough. You guys stay spooky out there.